Hi, I think we are live. Great to see you all. This is Sunando, and let me take this pleasure of. I'm almost feeling like getting into a classroom with people from whom I have learned so many things, and this is a great opportunity for me to learn more today on a very different topic. So today, together, we have close to 100 years collective experience in advertising in this panel, what I see. So I have on top of my, I think this is the same screen everybody is seeing. So top of me is Sandy. Sandy heads CMI here. So he's one of the director in CMI. Casey is a very renowned consultant in advertising. And I have on my left Arindam. Arindam is he heads a company called Paperboat. It's based in Mumbai. So thank you all for your time. I know that we have so many work now. I know. I mean, everybody is so much busy now. I can understand, but still, you have made the time and come here. So, see, this is today we are actually trying to get into a discussion that what is the subject says that we are talking about the impact of this COVID-19 in the field of advertising. And we all know, because I was just going through a report by Statista which says that the advertising agencies or advertising industry is going to get a kind of or get into a loss of close to $2.6 billion, which is huge. Its impact is huge. But before I get into overall perspective of each one of you, I have some specific question for three of you, rather, which is more related to your work. So my first question is to Sandy, that you heads this CMI, which is advertising. It's a classroom for advertisers, future advertisers. So do you think this, whatever is happening today, is going to change the basic fundamental of advertising in any way? Or to be very precise, is it going to change the course material that you have today?
No, not really. I mean, not really in the sense, because I think the fundamentals of advertising are going to remain the same. What you're going to have is you're going to have a very different scenario. You're going to have a different set of consumers to deal with. You're going to have a different distribution system, which is going to deliver the goods to consumers. The whole process of marketing, I think, is undergoing to go a change. And, advertising needs to keep up with that particular process. But if you ask me on the fundamentals, creating advertising, no, I don't think the principles of that are going to change at all. They haven't changed, because someone like me, we've seen many transitions coming through advertising. When I began my career in advertising, we only had black and white press. Look what we have today. So about 30 odd years, we made huge transitions in advertising. This is yet another transition you're going to make. But this is a difficult transition, because this is the transition where, it involves consumer mindsets changing. The way whole marketing system is going to operate, that is going to change. Agencies better beware, because, you need to start delivering value. Because if you don't deliver value at this point of time, why should a client keep you? I mean, just ask yourself that question. And remember, all clients are going to go through 3 months of a downturn. So they're going to be short on cash. And one of the first things we know by budgets get cut is advertising. So, you've got to be careful on this one. So if you ask me whether my syllabus will change, no, it will not change. Whether we will teach more? Yes, we will teach more. Because, sorry, I didn't get that.
No, please continue. Yeah.
Whether we're going to teach more? Yes, we're going to teach more. For example, I think we will have to now concentrate more on digital for us, for example. I think as students of marketing who come out of CMI, they need to know the digital world far better than my first batch, which is now 7 years old. But, when I get feedback from them, because they are now media planners, they are in relatively senior positions in their respective companies. When I get feedback from them, there seems to be a huge shift. Huge shift in terms of media. And that's where I think the change is really going to be from an advertising point of view. Not so much in the creation aspect of it. Creation, yes. You have to deal with smaller screens. You're not going to have the luxury of large screens any longer. You need to make your commercial that much more hardworking and viable on your telephone screen.
Hmm.
And it is. We learned it the hard way. I mean, when we moved from cinema advertising into Doordarshan, we had a process called reverse telecine, where we used to send things. I mean, we used to send our 35 films to Singapore and Hong Kong, and get those reverse telecines back and put it on the U-matic and then send it to Doordarshan. And then we
Yeah.
suddenly realized that boss, what works on the big screen doesn't necessarily work on small screen. Simple. Big screen, you take long shots. Being a photographer, let me tell you, you take long shots on the big screen. In television, it's a lot close and things like that. So you need to work your commercials accordingly. So similarly, creative people will need to evolve. So that's the transitions I really see that's going to take place.
Sure. I think as an industry, advertising is pretty much prone to disruption as an agent or industry as such. Now, taking that cue, I'm actually coming to Arindam. So you run an organization, Paperboat. I'm sure that you have a lot of clients who are reducing, if not stopping. It's almost reducing to a pretty large percentage of their budget. Now, looking at that and looking at your delivery mechanism, because I believe that your delivery mechanism might not change in future. So how do you think that you are going to adjust to this change situation, and what would be your pitch to the market?
Sunando, our pitch for a long time has been that we are a analog slash digital company.
Uh-huh.
Because we've seen this curve for quite a long time back. That is one part. Second part is I myself personally, I have been doing digital since 98. You
Mm-hmm.
know that, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, my propensity towards digital was always strong. Only thing,
Mm-hmm.
when it became very democratic and came on the mobile, it really flowered in the last, I would say, 5 years or so, when people really got used to digital, they got used to mobile. So digital and mobile nowadays is kind of interchangeably used. It is not the same. But so our pitch is that we are, like we say, retail clients, they say we are an omni-channel brand. We say we are an analog digital. Uh, we understand brands. We understand the delivery through different medium. The idea is supreme. The way of delivery would be what you choose to be, and depending on the products and brands, and therefore we are able to do this. And I think more and more, this is going to be the norm, because you cannot be, old dogs can like us tend to lean too much on the conventional advertising, because that's what we've done, that's what we know very well. Sandip here is talking about 35 millimeter, and Sandip would know that at those times filmmakers hated to shoot on digital because they said you don't get the texture without that film.
And depth of field nahi pawa jana.
Yeah. But then
That's right.
people started making the on red, and everybody said, no, the digital is it. So that way, transitions are always painful. It has happened, but now nimbleness, being able to adapt to any situation, being able to turn around immediately at almost no turnaround time,
Right.
with resources that you have. Do not go for over perfection. This is digital, this is not print. Nobody is going to kill you for a comma or a full stop.
Mm-hmm.
Do more in numbers, tell your story again and again, build this overall network,
Mm.
and thereby create advertising. One of the biggest shift in from the time that we have started advertising and what we see today is that earlier brands used to be made by advertising. Now brands are made by experience. If you look at any brands in the last 5 years, you hear of Zoom? I mean, I didn't hear of Zoom in 15 days back, 20 days back, heard of Zoom. Zoom was a color photo laboratory in Calcutta,
Yeah,
chain which
true. Yeah.
1 hour photo. After that, somebody said Zoom. Did I see an ad of Zoom to find
No.
out? They talk to me in a brandish way, and I didn't. I said Zoom. Okay, go to Play Store, download Zoom, try using Zoom. It works. It's good. If it doesn't work, throw away.
Mm.
So this speed, this attitude is the new advertising that we are going to see again and again. And I think we are seeing it already. So this is the pitch
Right.
that we build your brand by making it a great experience. That's our pitch.
Right. And coming, I mean, probably the same question I would ask to Casey, that you are a consultant to many brands and many organizations. Now, the situation is very different. In the last 4 months, it has shifted like anything. And the worst part of it is that no one of us can actually predict what is going to happen. But yes, there are some visible changes that are having. I mean, we are witnessing some of the visible change which are very clear to us now. Having said that, what would be your suggestion at this point to the brands that you are managing? Would that be to stop advertising right now and see how the thing goes and then take a kind of a shift, or what is that you are thinking about?
There is no one answer to this, and every brand has different parameters that they work with and work under different circumstances. A rather large brand would certainly not stop advertising. They'll certainly keep talking to their consumers in a very different way, in a very empathetic way. And right now, there is a time when brands may not be able to sell, but still need to remain relevant with their consumers by sending the right messages, saying they're giving the right strokes and saying that, you know, to coin a cliche, this too shall pass. Or how do you cope with the current situation given our brand? And there are some great examples that are there from the Unilever stable. At least there is a Rexona commercial that's happening, which was shot entirely in house by Unilever employees, because Rexona identified the problem. Your problem really is you're stuck at home and you're doing things that you're not used to doing, which are household chores, and that's every day. Earlier, you used to pile up some chores and do it once in a while. Now you have to do it every day, and that's part of your life. Their solution was might as well enjoy it. So they created a video out of it, and that sent such a positive message to everybody. It was incredible. Lifebuoy is another example. When people are frothing in their mouth talking about brand, my brand, my brand, my brand, Lifebuoy went out and said that you need to wash your hands and not necessarily Lifebuoy. Any soap will do. I think these are mindful communication. This is empathetic communication. There's a communicator that understands the consumer's problem. I think the first thing that people have to do in today's day and age is relook at your business problem. Your business problem may not be the fact that I'm not selling right now. Your business problem may lie somewhere else. And I think this is the time to invest in future, because come what may, lockdown is going to go away. The virus is not going to go away, but people will find a way to cope with it. People will find their own coping mechanism. Brands will find their own. More importantly, consumers will find their own coping mechanism. When that happens, how are you going to remain relevant? What is your new reality that you're going to invest in? Are you still going to be is it a brick and mortar reality? Is it a digital? Is it a virtual reality? Is it an experiential reality? What reality will you walk? And that's an answer only the brand owners can give. And I strongly believe today is a time for a lot of learning. I think we are at the cusp of history. Something of this magnitude has never happened.
Never.
Not even the World War. It hasn't affected, nothing has affected the world over in this way. We're at the cusp of history. And if history is written, I don't know, a few thousand years from now, if somebody reads history, they'll be reading about this change. And there's something we need to imbibe in, something we need to embrace. There are people who I see who are running away from it. The people who are shutting themselves down. You can't escape this. This is inevitable. This is happening to us. This is the reality. You need to embrace it. Find your own solution. There is no solution that will one size will not fit all. There is no one suggestion that anyone can give saying that, okay, brands should do this and don't do that. Every brand has its own reality. Every brand has its own language. Every brand must have a purpose, and they should be true to that purpose in their own way, remaining relevant to the consumers. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I was also thinking about certain things like some of the statement of a brand may change forever. Like, for example, the finger licking good is the statement of KFC. I think this is going to change forever. Now, having said that, in terms of for advertisers, when you go to the field and you are displaying your advertisement, so there are massive change which are going to happen in terms of for example, in India, at least I can tell you that IPL is not going to happen. Worldwide, Olympic is kind of postponed. We are not sure whether it will happen 1 year after 1 year. EPL is going to stop now. All this were kind of a very standard, I mean, of course I'm talking about very large brands, so standard way of displaying their brand positioning. Now, how is this going to impact the large brands? Are they going to find an alternative which is as good as this? I
Of
mean,
course.
this is a open question.
I'm sorry, I'm just jumping into this. Yeah, I strongly did I interrupt you, Sunando? Were you going to complete something else?
No, that's it. I mean, this is an open question to all of you.
No, but no doubt, of course, not just brands, human beings will adapt. Human beings will adapt that expectations out of a brand also. It's not just and different kind of experience will come into play. Who's to say that EPL will not go completely digital? I don't know that. You don't know that. IPL might be the new normal, the next normal, the Kings is calling it, might just be IPL being played with empty stadiums, which we can't imagine. We cannot imagine IPL without the fanfare, the drama, the smokes and the fire and the dances. That might be the new normal. We don't know. But I'm pretty sure that there will be relevant solutions that everybody will land upon. And brands don't find their solutions in isolation. Brands find their solution with the consumers, keeping in mind consumers' reality. If the consumer's reality is this, then yes, the brands will find a solution to this. You said finger licking good. Yes, that's a great example. Of course, finger licking good, the line is not relevant today, but the taste is relevant. The experience is still relevant. A Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, that's still the flag bearer of fried chickens around the world. That is not going to change. How are they going to deliver that? That's a question of semantics, I think.
So
But
probably from test they would emphasize more on the cleanliness. I don't know. I mean, that's an
don't know.
assumption.
I think that assumption is a very first level assumption because cleanliness has become genre to the categoriness. Every category will have to ride on hygiene and cleanliness at a very. It's like soap cleans. It's like shampoo cleans your hair. But then what? That's just the basic. What is your value add? So therefore, any fried chicken will do. Why do I go to KFC? KFC will have to provide something above and beyond just fried chicken. No, it delivers an experience. McDonald's delivers an experience. IPL delivered an experience. That experience needs to be replicated in some other way, or a new experience would have to be brought into the ecosystem.
I'll give you an example, Sunando. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So to build on what Kaniska is saying, while we do not have exact precedence of this, but we do have models. You can study some models. One of the models is and both models are pretty much American models. One of them is, this is the case in which the big plague meets the Great Depression. Actually, that's the way it is today. So if you study Great Depression of 30s, etc., 1930s, 1920s, 30s, you will find a model there. If you study the meltdown in 2008 and study what is recession advertising and what is recession market and how does recession sentiments play, to give you an example of the answer, one of the questions that you asked and what Sunando is building, that the essence of the brand does not change. In 2008, when there was a big meltdown of United States meltdown, research showed that people do not want to buy something which is of transient value, and therefore De Beers did not change their positioning. They just tweaked that communication to say, here's less. Years to less. Buy fewer, but buy better things, because the diamond is forever. So they did not change the line of the century. Diamond is forever is the line of the century, written by Mary Francis. So they did not change it. They just said that you do not have to buy. Diamond has a value beyond this rock, that it is forever, and that line embodies it. So the communication changed to buy fewer, but buy the right thing.
Buy fewer and buy the right thing. That's
Buy
very
fewer, buy better. So what is better? Today I have to define myself as what is better.
right. Sandy, you have any thought on this?
Yeah, let me take what you just put in two parts. First is the brands themselves, as in the Olympics, the IPL, the Wimbledon, EPL, etc. Okay. First, let me deal with them. Let's not write them off, because they're going to come back. Okay. We are a vaccine, and we are, medicines away from finding it. I'm sure the world will find a solution to this particular thing, and then we'll live with coronavirus like we live with flu today. Okay. So expect these brands to come back, and come back as strongly, if not stronger, because there's going to be a sentiment, catch the English missing football or Wimbledon, or catch the Americans missing out on the NBA series and things like that. So these are brands that are going to come back. So let's not write them off. Okay. To answer the second part of your question, consumers are dynamic, right? Because they're always changing. Their desires are changing. So newer properties, if we are adapting to a newer lifestyle, newer properties will emerge. You'll find a lot of digital sponsoring possibly happening. Let's take Formula One, for example. They've already moved to F1E, right? So various drivers from various streams are no longer actually physically driving, but they are driving on, I presume, machines. I really don't know. I don't watch it. I don't watch it, but just for the experience, I said, let me go and check out what this is. So they take the Brazil track, for example, and they race around the Brazil track, but I presume it's from computers and anywhere else. Okay. So these, the other day I heard the IOC, president or chairman, whoever he is, and whatever his designation is, making a statement that esports should become a part of the Olympics. Okay, so you're already seeing change, which is, happening and going to happen. So a lot of the properties could, if these e-things become popular, a lot of the properties could actually move there. Let's take Barclays Bank, which sponsors EPL, for example. If there is an EPL, for example, which I think there is, it is there in some form, which I haven't actually gone into it, but Barclays could then be sponsoring that, right? Or they could jettison this, wait for EPL to come back, and in the interim, attach themselves to some other temporary properties, or properties which they invest in digital, which could become big in the future. So it is also. I think there are opportunities which are available, and you need to go out and take them. It's as simple as that. Let's not complicate the issue too much. I don't think it's very complicated. We keep following the basic fundamentals both of marketing and communications. We will find the answers. We found the answers, as Arindam was mentioning. We've had the Great Depression. As close as 2008, we've had that horrendous meltdown. We've come through all that. So we'll come through the crisis itself, and we will evolve. In this particular crisis. So I see these as really positives. The disturbing thing is the death toll around the world, but nothing much we can.
I know. That is something not in our hand, and I probably will not talk about it. Okay, so we have few questions. I think Dishpita Shamanto. As we can see, buying behavior changed a lot. Previously, we tend to stick into a particular brand. Like most of the people prefer Amul milk, but now people are buying whatever is available. They are not looking for a specific brand. Do you think people will stick to this, or when everything will go normal, people buying behavior will again go back to how it was? Well, I have a few points on this, but I would like to hear what you are saying.
No, but this
So
is
who
interesting. I'm
wants to
sorry,
take?
my computer shut down suddenly, so I had to redo
I
it.
Yeah,
Just extremely sorry about that. No,
this is
I
the new
hear
normal. Okay.
I hear it's the next song. I hear Dishmita's comment, and
Yeah.
I tend to agree with that. Today, in this crisis situation, I think loyalty is out of the window. But if you're a smoker and if you're smoking a cigarette, you will not wait for your brand to be available. You will smoke what you get. If you
Mm-hmm.
are a consumer of a certain milk, and if you don't get that brand of a milk, you'll still consume milk. So essentials will run that. People are, as it is, not spending on luxury or what they consider to be not essential, non-essential items right now. So this will continue. But I do think, and people don't look at brands the way we look at brands as advertisers. We look at brands very, very differently.
Of course.
Unless we throw out stimulus at them, it's very difficult for them to imbibe into brand loyalty. So that takes a bit of stimulus also. And I'm sure with things settling down, the dust settling down, or the things getting behind us, there'll be new stimulus that will go out in the market for people to start getting into brand loyalty again. Right now, yes, brand loyalty is probably at an all-time low. Uh, we're just happy that we're getting essentials, we're getting our bread, milk, rices, pulses, whatever, eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not looking at brands right now. But no, I'm sure we will go back to our brand habits. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
brands will come back with brand messages and experiences that will sort of guide us towards brands, because brands have always been an anchor in our lives and will continue to be so.
Okay.
If I can add a
Sure.
little bit that
Sure.
question, the habit changing, and this is again historical, has will only happen proportional to the years that you spend in distress. So Americans who went through Great Depression, which lasted a decade, had a lifelong habit of being conservative and holding back, which may not be the case if you are in lockdown for 3 months or 4 months, because your
Mm-hmm.
habits just gets washed away.
Mm-hmm.
So an interesting practical way of looking at this is when you intersect four types of customers, four types of consumers in this recession psychology
Mm-hmm.
with four types of requirements. If this 4x4 matrix, if you fit in, then it is very interesting and very commonsensical. My more important part is, so there are four types of consumers during recession, and they are number one called slam on brakes.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Slam on brakes.
Okay. Yeah.
On brakes. People generally who are slightly older, who are anyway thinking of retiring, say maybe in our age bracket. Uh, Most of you do not, you have to reinvent yourself completely. I may not be able to do it. I do not know how this change is going to happen. My comfortable life is gone. So I am a slam on brakes customer, in which I will scrounge on everything. Customer number two is pained but patient. Sunando, pained but patient.
Mm-hmm.
So he is
So they will
pained,
wait.
but he will wait. He has the
Mm-hmm.
capacity to wait. He has the age to wait. Customer three is comfortably well off. Is Kaniska. Comfortable, well off, no problems in life, have saved enough. Um, will look at brands, will look at the better things in life.
Mm-hmm.
And last brand is live for today, which is the younger audience, which in our case is the millennial audience mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the slam on brakes and the pained but patient customers will always look at value brands and older brands. which means what am I comfortable with? I'm going to buy Amul to answer Dipshita's. I'm not going to buy the Sunando dairy.
Mm-hmm.
Milk is right, but I will go for time tested ones. Cross this four matrix of four categories of customers with the four types of needs. One is essential, second is treats, third is postponables, and fourth is expendables. Essentials, rice, oil, milk, whatever. Treats, chocolate. I mean, one man's treat is another man's essentials, really.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of buying a furniture, I would postpone it.
Mm-hmm.
Expendables, I was thinking of buying a higher end phone, I will expend it. If you take these four customers and if you take these four needs and cross them, you will be able to get answers for most brands.
Yeah, very aptly said. Sandy, you want to add something on this, because I have a point
No,
here.
no, at your point.
Yeah,
No,
sorry. So okay, so yeah, I always thought that okay, brands are a bit struggling the moment marketplace appeared, because just for market aggregators and marketplaces. I can give you one example, and again, I think this very much goes with what Arindam said, is the age and younger audience, and I'm talking about the millennials. And I have done this practically since I have my own brand of biryani. I always wanted to see how many people are actually liking it, and I have done it with my own people, including my son. And I asked him that in the last 10 days, you have taken food from outside. So name the restaurant's name from where you have ordered. All he can remember is that he ordered through Swiggy or Zomato, but he could not really recollect the name of the restaurant from where he had ordered, until and unless there is a very solid brand propositions like say Domino's or Pizza Hut, which are established brand. But people who are struggling to establish their brands are always having this positioning problem to the millennials. What I feel, and I somehow, this marketplaces again, you look at Amazon or Alibaba, where you have the choices, where you need to filter through either brand or price. So in a way, you have been given the option whether you are going to choose a brand or a price. And it is exactly what I think Arindam said, that it very much depends on the age bracket and the type of customers that we are targeting, whether they are looking at brands or they are looking at price. And price point is going to be, I think, is very crucial in the next, say, 6 months to 1 year. I think that's where probably brands needs to reposition themselves. I don't know whether so. Do you think this is going to be the new, or the probably the most difficult challenge for brands? Like, I take an example, Armani. Do you think that Armani is going to have a problem in the long run? I mean, in the next, say, 1 year, is there going to be a threat to Armani in this situation? I'm talking about very, very expensive brands, actually.
They did do
Sunando,
a they did do a they did do a catwalk by streaming. They
Uh,
didn't do it live. They did a catwalk
and
streaming.
Sunanda, my answer to that particular question is the people who afford or can afford our money will continue to buy our money. I mean, because of the price
They're
level
recession proof. They're recession proof.
that is there. I mean, to answer Dipshita's question, I don't think there can be an overriding answer to the question. I mean, because I think, what we will need to see is, I think essentials are going to behave, or brands in the essentials category are going to behave very differently, or, consumers are going to react very differently than brands like luxury brands like you have mentioned, Armani and things like that. Someone mentioned smoking, for example. Yes, I am a smoker. I am currently buying whatever is available to me, right? But the minute the lockdown gets over and
the
things come
minute
back to normal,
things are
I will
available, yeah.
I will get back to my brand. Okay, so it's going to depend category to category. and where the brand is it a mass brand? Is it a premium brand? Is it a super premium brand? I mean, a lot of decisions will be forced on that. For example, once Zara reopens in South City, will I go there? Yes, I will go there. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, because it's a brand that I like. I mean, it's a brand I think that suits me. I mean, so I will arrive back at that doorstep. I mean, if I am a Pepsodent, I mean, if I am a Sensodyne user of toothpaste and I was not getting it and I had to move to Colgate, I will get back to Sensodyne.
So what you are saying is more of a supply chain based issues.
Yes, it is a supply chain based issue. We have actually gone back to the days of when brands were not available and we were commodity markets. The situation today is like pick up whatever is available. I like Kellogg's cornflakes. Kellogg's পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না, Moon Mikins পাওয়া যাচ্ছে. Okay, pick it up because I need to have cornflakes in the morning. Right? So that was the situation. I mean, so once this, as you very rightly said, once the supply chain situation improves, I think slowly but steadily, yes. But there is another thing. In this, there is this whole thing of thrift. I think Arindam was mentioning that. Luxury brands should see 2020 as a year of disaster. Because people are not going to go back to luxury brands in a hurry. Because people are now aware that and everybody would now like to build for এটা যদি আরেকবার হয়ে যায় তাহলে আমার কি হবে? Remember, a lot of people are going to go out of
fear
jobs.
Factor works.
Yeah, the fear factor will work. So the minute they get back their jobs and things like that, savings will become an issue. Not spending on luxury items like Arindam was mentioning, that will really become an issue. But yes, in the long run, as our engine gets back rolling, I think we will get back to brands dictating, brand choice. But you're very right. The point that you were making, I think, is very right. And that I don't think, has any relation to do with, this particular crisis. I think that's
of course. I mean, the marketplaces are also building their brands. I think marketplaces are also building their own brands. So I prefer Amazon. I think Onindo has... sorry, yeah.
Yeah, we looked at Aninda's question. We'll go there.
Yeah.
Just the last bit what Sandy said.
Sure.
Actually, again, I go back to the definition of the crisis customer, which is in the recession psychology, the customers. There is a kind of customers, in fact, who are going to slam on brakes.
I think we lost.
Yeah.
I think it's frozen.
Okay, so I think we'll
come going to look for cheaper alternatives. Yeah. So
sorry, we lost you for a few seconds. If you can just repeat.
Okay, so I'm saying that thrift, more than thrift, the fear factor is going to be an issue because four things again are very important. How the situation is going to pan out post, and those are: one is disposable income. Do you have disposable income, or will you have? Because your choices will will he come back to Marlboro from Goldflake, which is currently smoking? Depends upon if he has the continuing income, and if he has the disposable income, he will. But if he doesn't, then he won't. I mean, I'm saying not him, people in that category.
Very true. Very true.
Second is, are you feeling confident about the future? It's a very, very important question. Older you are, lesser confident you will feel, because I was about to go away. I mean, I don't have the time to reinvent. Third point is, do you trust business and economy? These are not theoretical questions. These are questions subliminally. It is going on in your mind. Do I trust, or do I have can I give? Everybody knows investment goes over time. Do I don't have the time?
Can I wait?
Shall I stick to what I know and what I have and what I can? And the fourth part, the fourth thing, which is, will I embrace a lifestyle and value that provides consumption, which is what we were younger, when we were younger. Started with charms. I'm taking a cigarette example because that's kind of an example. Started with charms, went on to gold flake, went on to filter wheels, classic, so on and so forth. Which means we were young, ahead of us. We know that this is the millennial. This is the guy we will advertise to. I'm going to advertise there. I'm not going to advertise to me because I am a slam on the brakes guy. I'm not going to advertise on Kaniska, who is pained but patient. I'm going to advertise to the live for today guy, and I'm going to advertise to the comfortable, well-off guy. And here is where your media will act as a knife, which means go to the older audience, use this mix of conventional media and the digital media, and I will want to, as an advertising person, like to segregate these two messages, which was not the theory earlier. I will segregate it. I will
Okay.
segregate the conventional media.
I have a point to make here, Arindam, because again, this is a very interesting data that we have received of late, and it was a study made by KPMG. I would like to share it with all later on. It is actually a study made on the OTT platforms. Okay, and they have segmented the market by three tiers of cities and different three or four, I think, age brackets. What they have seen, and it's a pretty large number of audience where they have done the study, and so the results we can actually trust. I mean, the numbers are pretty huge. What is very significant here is the people, the questions that they ask, that if you have the choice to move to digital, would you still completely move, cut the cord and move to digital, or you stick to your age old cable TVs, or probably the television? And it's very surprising that in all the age bracket, the answer is positive and the percentage is almost similar. It's probably a fraction of a percentage change in the numbers. Another very crucial thing is that accessibility to digital market or digital media has given a huge change in the shift of behavior in the consumers also, I believe, because when they ask in different age bracket, it's very surprising. The answers are similar when they were asking at a age bracket of 13 and a age bracket of 50 to 60. The answer is same, which is very surprising. So I think what we are trying to do is that we are probably differentiating between the digital and the analog media, which is no longer exist. I think the analog and digital media, that's my vision of thought, but I may be completely wrong. So but I feel that the differences no more exist um, in terms of acceptance of the media.
Difficult to say, actually, Sunando. In the last 1 year, maybe 1.5 years, have you seen Facebook advertising on print? It is surprising. I was zapped. Why did they do that? There was
Uh,
Google advertising, Facebook advertising full page newspaper on print. Why has it got to do that? I don't know. They did it. Google
mhm.
did it. See, we have to make a distinction. Digitally delivered products and digitally influenced products. They're two different things. Netflix is a digitally delivered product.
Mhm.
It's simply more convenient to consume Netflix digitally. No problem with that. But if you are suppose trying to sell a bottle like this, it's not a digitally delivered product. It can only be digitally influenced product. Correct? So you are a younger audience, assuming, then I can reach you doing the relevant story of this bottle on the digital medium better. I am an older audience, assume that I have less propensity towards digital. You will do a different story for me for the bottle on the products on the convention that I have. My numbers are shrinking. your numbers are increasing.
Yeah.
This is the story still remains within these parameters. Earlier, our theory was there is one campaign, one thought, which cuts across all kinds of media. Now,
It's
there
different.
may be two ideas. There may be two ideas. One idea for you, one idea for me. And there is
So it's
where
more
the
personalized.
Personalized, and the media will act as the knife. That is, knife it and say, this is for you, the same bread. This is with cheese, this is with strawberry. This is with wax paper for you, only what you need. These are the different. So this is how I see it. So they're exciting.
Yep.
I really is exciting. I'm going to jump from here to Aninda's question because that's why I want to.
Yeah.
Digital. If you do digital advertising, I do digital advertising.
Will influencers outdo advertisers in the digital space? I think.
Influencers. How does the digital advertising in a larger way work? Does digital advertising as a display ad work? It does not work. It was
Well, I mean, it's a mix of all.
Yeah, but it's a hangover of what we used to do, what we are used to seeing. Put it on television, put it on there, etc. It does not work. It does. If you look at its analytics, and I do that analytics, it does not give any offtake. Very, very few conversions.
No, I think. I think the biggest difference that digital has made is previously it was pretty generic. So I am showing an advertisement in television, which is for all. Everybody has to see it. They have no option. Today, digital has the capacity or capability to understand what Arindam is looking at, what Casey is looking at, what Sandy is looking at, and I channelize my. I mean, I'm basically sending my communication to only those who are interested in my content. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So again, let me come back to that particular thing. Kaniska had actually brought it up. You know, we belong to the same genre, so I hear that better when Kaniska says that. Even Sandy said that. What happens here is, earlier, how did you consume advertising? You were supposed to remember an advertising. That's why we do intrusive advertising, which means it is different from what you generally see. Advertising is intrusive. Why? It is supposed to be in your head. Why? Because when you go to the point of purchase, you will pull that memory out, let it bloom in your mind in an instant, and choose. So, Lifebuoy instead of so and so, this instead of so and so, right? Digital does not have that. Digital means I see it, I experience it, I go to Amazon, I buy. The storytelling is different.
True.
This storytelling is different. So the point here is that we will need to slice the story accordingly in digital. That's why Ananda has asked that question, which means I do not have the opportunity of showing the story. I need the storyteller. So Kanishka is a food blogger, food enthusiast. I hook on to him. Kanishka tells the story for me. For Anlatherium, let's say, example, a brand. Kanishka tells the story. And then I go to Kanishka and say, oh, this is how the story is. So this is the texture, this is the food, this is the style, this is the romance. And that's how your gets built. So yes, influences are very important. Very, very important. What are the human influences? That we do not know, but they are important. Second part is the other part, which is a very worrying part, which you will realize, is the search factor. If you do not have desire, will you search? What will happen? What is happening in this fact? If you look at your own brands and if you look at their analytics and their search patterns and SEO search patterns, you will see the search has dropped because there's no desire. So it will come up. When it comes up, it comes up. But the storytelling, this question is the influencer more important than
the advertiser?
Than the
Advertiser बोल रहे थे? सही तो बोल रहे थे।
Yeah, are they going to outdo advertise?
Advertisers.
Outdo advertising. No, see, this is a different art.
Will
Come on.
influencers outdo advertisers?
This is what we used to call testimonials in our times.
Right.
We used to call them testimonials. It's only semantics. He said that. Kaniska said that. Semantics. So,
Casey's
that is
take?
what- yeah.
No,
So,
I agree. Influencers are a media. They are part of the media. They are not the
Right.
message. And they are certainly not that. And influencers will not exist without advertisers.
Number
That's
one.
important.
Secondly, today's influencers, if you look at influencers, are the influencers? I
That's
see.
that's a debatable point. That is something
No, that's not what I'm saying. Hmm.
Okay.
No, so point there, Kaniska, please explain that. I want to hear that from you. Is that why I brought that up is if you say Andre Agassi is the influencer, let's use that word instead of testimonial, new age word, influencer for Longines or Aishwarya Rai or whoever it is, there is credibility. You associate because it says what something is essential, style is okay.
Yeah.
So you get that those two, right? But influencers are not that. Anybody who has 1 million following is an influencer, or a lakh following is an influencer. So how, in your mind, anybody who can buy their way through into a lakh, which you and I can,
Mm-hmm.
will you or I become more important than the advertiser? I ask you to explain that.
So can you come again one more time, please?
Yeah. So
repeat the question. His voice is breaking and echoing a little bit. I'm having difficulty hearing him.
Sunando, can you hear?
Now I lost you for a few seconds actually. I mean the last question.
I'm asking because Sunando has asked a question of influencer as a tribe.
Right. Right.
Influencer tribe. Now, when you bring in influencer as a tribe, then influencer needs to have an influence, right? So I'm talking about Andre Agassi being an influencer within quotes of Longines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Elegance is an attitude. That's the baseline for Longines. So Andre Agassi is that, Maria Sharapova is that, Aishwarya
Right.
Right. The brand and the influencer are of similar caliber and standing. Correct? Now today, I and Kaniska decide to become influencer, and we can be by buying our way through into some lakhs of influencers, right? Will I be equal to brand?
No, that I understand. I hear you now. Now, so you have traded upon the dark side of influencer marketing. There is a dark side of influencer marketing very, very clearly. I would have to agree with you. Andre Agassi, Maria Sharapova, or Shah Rukh Khan, or who have you, they do a top line influencer. And I'm sure there are brands who do their media planning accordingly and they target every single age bracket or income bracket there is with specific brand ambassadors, influencers, who whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
But yes. Unfortunately, digital media is still rife with a dark side where you can really buy likes and shares and become and become some gold level influencer, a platinum. I often get these kind of requests. That, I am a gold level X food site influencer. I would like to write something. Yes, but I don't think any serious brand would look at them with any kind of seriousness. With any kind of seriousness, they will always. I'm sure. It's a game of survival,
No,
and it is
I
their way
think
of
there would be
survival.
a mix of both. I mean, I would say that the role of advertisers are basically to position the brand, and the role of influencer is, as the name says, that it influence. So
Absolutely, it's not a
to
media planning.
influence, you need a kind of something, an agent, which actually is the work of the influencer. I would because of the time actually I would just go quick, and I have few questions. One from Sunil Kohli from Mumbai, and he said that habits of people have changed. can we see this as an opportunity? So I personally feel that every change is an opportunity, but I would actually like to first ask Sandy, what is your view on this? Habits of people have changed. Can you see this as an opportunity?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely an opportunity. I mean, brands need to, find out what is going to be relevant and exploit that. But you've got to be a very clever brand to actually go out and do this, because remember, uh, we are currently dealing with a crisis situation. When we get back to normal, which may be a little while down the line, but we will get there at some point of time. Your
Yeah.
real answers are going to come then, and not in the next 6 months.
Hmm.
Uh, so brands need to be very, very clear and have, they need to keep their sights, I mean, on the future. You just can't be dealing with the here and now situation and forgetting what the future is.
Yeah, I think now the problem is the real problem of supply chain, and the moment, I mean, I look at it as this is a more of
Physical
a
distribution.
retail problem.
Physical
It's more
distribution.
of a supply chain issue, and once that is settled down, and it's a very interesting question from Surajit. Surajit is himself as a restaurateur, and he has a fantastic brand in Kolkata. It's called Egdalia Road. So whenever Arindam here, you are here in Kolkata, I think it's exactly opposite to your old house. It's a fantastic. Okay, so Surajit's question is: panels take on launch of a wow. This is a good question. Panels take on launch of a new brand slash product during this period, say next couple of months, do's and don'ts. What or
There, there,
how are you going to
there's only
launch
one.
a brand?
There's only one do and don't in this one. You've
Yeah.
got to be relevant to the consumer at this given point of time. Relevance is the key.
Yeah.
For example, you would have seen a flurry of brands have come in with hand sanitizer, for example.
Yes.
Requirement, there was a huge requirement. The country needed it, so you came in. And remember, brands who push this particular agenda are the brands that are going to, really thrive in the long run. So, you need to be seen as a brand who's come in and helped you. Casey
Hmm.
took the example of Rexona and Lifebuoy. I see those brands are already very big. And they're going to become even bigger. I mean, especially Lifebuoy. That commercial I thought was mind blowing. I mean, wash your hands. It doesn't have to be Lifebuoy. I mean, that's a leader talking. I mean, and you see the Lever's advertising now. The other day, I saw 5 Lever brands on one capsule. 5 Lever brands. They've got their strategy bang on. They really know what they're doing. I mean,
True, very true.
Lintus man speaking.
sorry? কি বললে?
Lintus man speaking, of course.
No,
So
but
were you,
I
Arindam?
think
So were you.
I think it depends on the brand also, Surajit. I think
Yes.
just for
Absolutely.
example, I am if I tell the panelists that okay, I'm going to launch a airlines brand at this stage, what is my strategy? I think it would be very very difficult for them to
I think
strategize,
Launch
right?
a cargo airline. Please
So
launch a cargo
yeah,
airline.
yeah, exactly. So I think that is
Might
one
as
of
well.
the primary objective that an advertiser needs to see, the time of launch. I think that is important, and once the time of launch is decided, so as Sandy said, that we have to be as relevant as possible. So as I think we are coming to the end of it, so I have okay, Shakur or Chaudhuri, he has a question. Maximum of the companies has been facing a huge loss during these days of lockdown, and maximum of them has stepped down from their potential service capabilities. How it will affect the advertising agency? Will they be interested in invest the same in advertising what they used to do? Yeah, it's I think it is the first question that I asked to all of you is in the changed situation. I think the budget would be a big issue for many of the organization. I have seen that most of the organization were not very brand sensitive. They normally try to cut down the advertising budget first
Yes.
before cutting down anything.
Yes.
So what's your take on this? I
Oh, no.
think
So,
And how it's going to affect the advertising industry?
yes. I mean,
Uh, My take is, very clear. Is fundamentally, as the agency, you need to deliver value. Remember, the clients are going through a crisis. You need to come out with solutions and help their business grow. So if you can, and remember, we are the business of creating ideas. If we don't give clients good ideas, who the hell is going to, give them? And somewhere down the line, I think we as agencies have left the door open, for consultants to come in. Now I find consultants coming in, somewhere when I sit on these corporate meetings, consultants are talking like advertising agency. I've spent
Because they're all advertising agencies.
So no, Sandip is very right in saying that, because I know for a fact that my friends in Accenture, they actually pitch for global clients like Fiat against WPP, and Accenture wins.
so there you are.
WPP says, they say, what does WPP offer? You want creative? I will buy. So they went and bought that.
Right.
Yeah, they said, you want creative? I will buy one creative. No problem.
That's the only thing that's lacking.
So if you say that I have only creative to give you, that's going to work. So my take.
I had a very interesting thing, just a corollary to what you are saying. I had one of my ex-students, I think he was in batch 3, so would now be about 4 or 5 years into the marketplace. Once called me up, late in the evening, sir, I have a very good offer. I said, offer from? So he said, Boston Consultancy Group. I said, what are you doing, Boston Consultancy Group? He said, no, sir, did you, they now make advertising. I said, what are you talking about? But it goes exactly to what, you.
If you really look at it, Sandy, answer this question, and I have answered this question myself. Who makes the maximum money from advertising? Which agent?
Who makes the maximum money from advertising? Okay.
Does JWT make it? Just WPP make it? No, Google makes it. So Google is fighting with you.
Yeah,
The spectrum is completely different. It's not a war between Lintus and JWT.
No, it's no longer that. Absolutely.
So it is a war between WPP and Lintas and so on and so forth.
But I look at Google as an enabler, I think, because they are not, again.
They make the advertising.
Go back to the question. I think my thought on this question is very clear. How is it going to affect the advertising industry money-wise adversely, but it also will force the industry to think differently, come up with solutions that they never thought of before.
Yes.
Creativity is actually an output of ambition coupled with limitations. That's when creativity comes out the best. And I think
let me be very outlandish on this one. Do agencies any longer need big, large offices?
No, actually,
actually, agencies need to rethink this. Spending that much, and I have headed an agency, so I know the kind of infrastructure costs an agency has to go through. And you can do away with a lot of the costs. Agencies really need to rethink this.
I think that is across industry. I think there is
I'll give a very small example. If I may give a very small example, airline industry has always talked about the top 10 airlines, which are the usual suspects: the British Airways, the Singapores, the Emirates, the Qatars. They are talking about 11 now. Who's the 11th airline? Who's the 11th? It's Zoom, who's taking away all airline money and will continue to take away airline money. And airlines are talking about Zoom as a potential threat.
Yeah,
it's that different.
Yeah, I think 1 year back, 1 year back in a retail event, I think it was actually Kishore Biani said this once, that today we are catering to the most populated country in this world, which is Facebook, because it has the maximum number of people every time. It's more than India plus China plus US. So I think it's my take on this is that the more you think about this world, and try to make a bridge and make friends with Google, I think that would be better.
Dystopian world, Sunando. If you look at face mask is a habit, I'm answering that question. Face mask is a habit or will be a continuing habit for the next 6-8 months. Think of its effect on lipstick.
Or will face mask come up with painted on lipsticks? Who knows? I know Fab India is producing face masks now.
Huh?
Fab India is producing face masks. So
Face
people are
mask. So
jumping.
there are two questions in lipstick industry. Number one is, will people use less lipstick or will people use more lipstick because it gets
No,
much?
but Arindam, I think to answer, I
Or
have
will
an
there
answer
be
to your question.
announcement?
I have an answer to your questions. If you, well, I mean, it's a fact that if you ask a lipstick manufacturer, especially the world's largest lipstick manufacturers, one of the biggest market of them for them is Middle East, GCC.
Great.
So I'm not getting into the thing that why people need
Right,
lipstick
right. Oh, great. Absolutely.
behind the
But
mask,
yeah,
or
it's a fact.
so
It's a fact.
it's a habit. I think it's the
Yeah.
person wants to look good
Absolutely.
behind the mask, or
Absolutely.
so I think we have almost exhausted our time. So it's 1 hour. So just closing remark from all of you. I'm coming to the question first. What is going to be the biggest impact, short term, long term, to Sandip?
Biggest impact, I think, on consumer psyche itself. I think that's going to be possibly the biggest impact. This thing is going to, because we're going to see a lot of change in our buying habits, the way we sometimes interact with various brands, short term and I mean long term. My advice to companies is, while dealing with the short term, which you must deal with, because as far as India is concerned, quarter 1 is gone. I mean, it's a dead duck. So you effectively have to do what you can in the remaining 3 quarters. So while yes, you will need to concentrate on the short term to see that your businesses get back into operation. Please, for God's sake, don't forget your long-term visions, because you're going to come through quite a different set of consumers. Some of them are going to be very aware with particular product categories. How they're going to buy is going to change. Their brand choices are going to change. The psyche is going to change. This fear factor that all of us are really talking about, and the thriftiness aspect of it. You'll need to deal with these. So these are the impacts. I mean, which marketing and come advertising will actually really have to cater to and take into account.
Sure. Arindam, your take.
Short term, need is bigger than desire.
Need is bigger than desire. Okay. And
this is the short term. Everybody of us see this, and how much of this thing is going to remain in your mind depends upon your income and your age. If you understand this and you know your customers, plan your strategy accordingly. Talk to me in a different way. Talk to Sunando in a different way.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Casey, your thoughts on this?
Same question.
Yeah, the impact on
short term. I think the impact we're all seeing. Short term, we started with panic, but we're settling down into rhythm. That's the beauty of human nature. We are creatures of habit. So we are creating new habits. We're settling down in new habits, and we are generally managing with what we have. But at the same time, for brands and companies, it's very important to understand these new habits, to understand what are these new rituals that we're getting into, so that habits don't go away overnight. Even when this goes away, some of these habits will remain. How do we leverage that? How do we remain relevant even in that situation? This is a big question that companies should ask in the long run. Invest today for tomorrow. When somebody said, I don't know, it's been ascribed to Jack Ma. I doubt if he said it. He said that your goal in 2020 should be to staying alive. But I don't know Jack Ma said that.
Right.
Whoever said that. I think the point is very, very clear. Like Sandy said, quarter one has been a washout. Quarter two, we don't know what's going to happen. Pretty much this year is going to be bad. Accept that. But that doesn't mean next year is going to be bad. And always remember, we are one day closer to normalcy.
Yeah.
I think that's the attitude we should go with. That there's going to go. This too shall pass. I know that's
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass, and there'll be better days, and you should plan for those. You should remain nimble for those days.
Absolutely. I think what I see. Yeah. Sure.
Small remark to your restaurateur friend that if he has to open in the next 3 months, have the alcohol, not the food.
Diageo was going to sanitizer.
4 months later, and have the alcohol delivered. He's going to make better.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the problem of telling you that what are the problems of having that. But to me, I think the biggest impact on this is already we have seen. I think it is now how we are going to resolve what has happened to us and how we are going to settle down and change the behavior. And one thing I'm sure about it, I think this is going to help Sandy immensely, because this is going to be the most interesting case study ever written or ever published in the history of advertising. I mean, I don't think there can never be bigger case study than this. So we all can keep on writing about it, document it properly, so that even after 100 years, people would talk about it, because I'm sure that this is going to be the biggest case study we have seen. And with that, I think thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Anonymous, for organizing it. So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to meeting. Really great to meet both Sandy and Kaniska on this forum. Wonderful.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.